Hello, welcome to Good Work Now, your resource for finding and creating good work. And today we're going to talk about an exciting new model called career wellness. And I am very excited to have with us a colleague that I have known for over 20 years. It's hard to believe it's been that long. But Beth Levin is here with us today. And Beth is a board-certified coach. And what that means is that she helps individuals, teams, and organizations discover and become their best, whatever that might be. And today, Beth is going to talk about her career wellness model and go through the 5 critical components. So, Beth, welcome to Good Work Now.
Good morning, Brian. It's great to be here.
Yes,
Thank you for the invitation after 20 years.
I think it was 1989 when we first started working together, so it's hard to believe it's been that long. And I'm really glad you could be here with us to talk about your career wellness model. And to start with, describe what is career wellness from your perspective.
You know, I've been working with people on their careers now for almost 20 years, a really long time, and I've learned a lot in working with them. And there was a great book that came out in 2010, and it's called Career Wellness, the 5 Essential Elements by the authors Tom Rath and Jim Harbour, and they actually cite 5 areas of well-being, and career well-being is actually the most #1 important. And what they found out, they actually followed people, and they measured their stress levels by looking at their cortisol, and they found that those people who did not like their work had higher actual health issues and potential risk factors, so higher blood pressure, higher stress hormones, and people who enjoyed their work. But they only identified career well-being as just enjoying what you do.
As I was hearing you talk about your conception of career wellness, it reminded me about the importance of tapping into your passion. That each of us has a passion for something. And if we find it, then that is leading us on the road to career wellness, it sounds like.
That's definitely one of the pieces.
Great. Let's now move into the 5 critical components and start with your notion of self-awareness. What is that about?
So, Brian, career self-awareness is really important to have a good match between the right career choice and who you are. Making sure that that fit between what you do and the best of you is really connected. So career self-awareness includes things like your self-concept. And sometimes people forget or overlook that, and it has to do with your self-esteem. So that's a really important piece. Wouldn't you agree with that in terms of looking at career self-awareness?
Right. It relates to what I just said about passion. So being in touch with what makes you tick and what gets you excited. And
Absolutely. So there's also your interests and your values. Those are huge components.
Good points. Good points. Let's now talk about relationships.
So most people work with relationships. Most people just don't work with things.
Okay.
And for most people, it is actually the biggest source of stress in their workplace. Now, the things that most people don't realize is that thinking about a difficult relationship, while not as bad, but still can create stress in your body. So when you think about a boss you maybe had a difficult time with in the past, or a customer, just thinking about that situation actually can raise your stress hormones, your blood pressure. So most people realize they have stress in the situation, but learning to really manage those relationships. So when you're the angry person in a relationship, when you're upset, that is not helping your body and your mind to be its best. And so there's lots of things, of course, that you can do to improve your relationships, starting with your self-talk and how you see yourself.
I imagine, too, people are going to be thinking about the kind of career they want, knowing the type of relationships they like and thrive in. That's going to help inform about what type of career they're going to be involved in.
Absolutely. So some people need more affirmation.
Right.
Some people need a lot more support. Some people need more affiliation, and they like to feel like there's a lot of people and that these are their friends. And so people have different drivers and needs in terms of their relationships.
Good. Let's now talk about the environment.
So the environment, sometimes people don't pay so much attention to their environment. They just get used to if it's their messy workspace or that their environment is too cold or too hot or the lighting isn't really good or it's not really aesthetic or it doesn't really express who they are. So people can make some very small steps in making their environment very more personalized and paying attention to sometimes these things are difficult things to change. They're just things that have gone out of your radar. And by focusing on those things, it helps to feel better about your environment.
And also, as we're talking, I'm thinking about things that people can actually change. Some people may feel stuck and powerless in certain jobs, but you're reminding us that we do have some influence and some control, and maybe we can even change our cubicle, the way it looks.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the main things I do when I do workshops on this topic, Brian, is we go back to self-awareness, and we start with people's personal values and what's working. Mm-hmm. And so I always find something. So if it's the security in the job, if there's some interest in the job, there's some things as a place to start from a positive frame. And so I think that's an important piece. And so looking at the environment too, hopefully there's some people that you enjoy in your environment and there's some things that work for you.
Let's move on to healthy work style.
So even if you have a job, a company, things that you really like to do in your work, which is fantastic, those are going to be really good health benefits for you. If you go to McDonald's every day for lunch and order the extra large fries with your quarter pounder with cheese, it's really not going to support you having your best healthy lifestyle. You'll still be impacting your health. So that's just one thing. The other thing is that in terms of time management, many people don't realize that they have a limited capacity and they expect that they're going to work their 8 to 10 hours a day, and they don't really know how to best pace themselves for their body and their brain. So there's some tools that you can use for yourself, and it's very personalized to make sure your energy is matched to the tasks that you have in front of you.
Great, good points. And finally, let's talk about growth.
So growth is actually one of the exciting ones. So even if you're in a situation that doesn't really fit well for you, if you start to pursue things that are really where your passion is and your interest is, that will start to change your brain and your neurochemistry. And as you get engaged with something, then you'll have more of the positive chemicals. There's a chemical called dopamine in our system, in our neurotransmitters. And so we're doing something we enjoy when we look forward to something. The dopamine system starts to flow. And so by doing that, you have a new perspective. So this can be very useful.
These 5 critical components really make a lot of sense, Beth. Are there any ones in particular that are more important than the other, or are they equally as important? Or
that's a great question, Brian. And actually, the career self-awareness is the most robust piece. So it's about 5 times more important than the other ones.
Okay.
Because if you don't know your interests, your values, if you're not clear on your education, your experience, if you don't have a great self-concept, those things are really going to interfere with determining the best fit for you.
Any ideas on what people can do to get in touch with their self-awareness? Some of the things I've heard are just meditating or reflecting or sitting down in a quiet place. Anything else?
Yes, absolutely. There's a wealth of great books out there, of course. And then I have a website, bethlevin.com, which there's some resources there as well. And I do individual coaching, of course, one of the things that I do. But there's also things like listing your accomplishments and going into some detail. And that is so useful for people because they start to see what their real values are, what their skills are. So that's one I think is really helpful. A lot of people don't have much information about the world of work. And so there's a website that's in the internet. It's onetonline.com, Onet Online. And it's a good place to do some shopping to better understand about job families. So those are a couple that come to mind. And I have many more, of course.
Okay, Beth, thank you so much for being on Good Work Now. You've given us a really good idea of this notion of career wellness and some really good practical steps that people can do to get in touch with their passion and how to exercise it so you can be the best that you can be. Until next time, keep up the good work.